What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got another card review for you. This time we have a brand new hand trap dragon thing that's actually pretty damn cool. We're going to be taking a look at him today. Only card that got revealed, but I do think it is, it's a hand trap. So you always got to look at hand traps under a whole nother level of respect. And yeah. So this is the artwork. It looks pretty cool. It's like a eagle dragon thing. That's cool. Anyway, this is Miradora, the Skywing of the Whirlwinds. Okay, it's a level 7 wind dragon effect monster with 2,000 attack and 2,600 defense. And this is where things get immediately kind of crazy, right? You can use each effect among the first and second effects with this card's name only once per turn. Each effect among the first and second effect with this card's name cannot be negated. Also, their activations cannot be negated. So, we have a hand trap here that says, I don't give a shit if you summon an Arclight. I don't give a shit if you summon a Jackal King. I'm dropping this boy on the board, and he's going to do something to you, and you can't do shit about it. And that's kind of crazy. We haven't seen that before in a hand trap. We haven't. So there's no way to protect against this. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. That's like the silver, like the thing you got to remember with all of this card's effects. The first effect reads, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters with 2,000 or more attack from the extra deck, you can special summon this card from the hand. Okay, so your opponent just needs to go for anything that's 2,000 or more from the extra deck. That's a little bit floodgated. 2,000 is a certain threshold. But, combo decks, like what combo deck is not summoning something that's 2,000 or bigger from the extra deck? Then we move to the second effect. If this card is special summoned from the hand, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck. That target cannot activate its effects while this card is face-up in a monster zone. So there you go. If your opponent summons a monster 2,000 or more from the extra deck, you drop this guy, then he'll trigger on summon to then target a face-up monster that was summoned from the extra deck, and that target will not be able to activate its effects while he is face-up in a monster zone. Now, there's a couple things to note here. Obviously, they made this a little bit weird, but you made him unnegatable. So, you couldn't make his effect obscene. Could you imagine if, Nibiru was just unnegatable? No one would play combo decks, and everybody would main Nibiru at 3 at all times. So, a couple flaws, right? Obviously, it's actually a decent card. Can't be negated, so there's no, oh, I waited too long, my Adamancipator opponent put the statue, what's his name? Guardian, Jesus, Quackmere Guardian on the field, they put an Arclight, and now I can't do anything to them. It's not the case, man. You could just drop this guy, and it doesn't matter. Can't be negated. He's a big body, so... assuming you're, most people are not going to commit to, removal. It's like Phantasme. You summon Phantasme on your opponent's first turn, they can't go battle phase. So they're probably not going to clear him, which means this also is just kind of a level 7 wind dragon you'll probably have going into your next turn. So that's, not bad. And it's a big body, 2,000, 2,600. Also pretty decent. Gotta respect that. And, yeah. The flaws I see with this card. First and foremost, this is not one effect. If this was one effect, this card would be very, very, very much better. I'll give you a scenario, okay? Halki Fibrax is a very, very prominent card. It's pretty much played in every single combo deck that exists in our game. Okay, so think about how this would work. Actually, it doesn't even work against Halk, because one, he's too small, right? Halk's only 1,500, so this card would not even trigger against Halk. That's not even an example I was going to throw out there. But let's actually say something like Borreload Savage, I guess. It's big enough so it would trigger Miradora, but when Miradora would trigger as well, you're Chainlink too. So you'll summon, right? You'll summon out of the hand, but you don't negate because it's not all one effect. So then Borreload Savage would trigger to get the card back to hand, or attach the card as material, and then you would be able to negate. Now again, this isn't the best situation. I can't think of a card that actually makes the most sense to like use as an example here, because then you jump out and then you negate him, which would take away his negate while you're face up on the field. But I'm trying to look for an example like something like Hulk, right? That really just once it resolves, like it's done what it's done, right? So this card would jump out of the hand, but the card would resolve if it triggers on summon, and then this card would trigger to negate afterwards. So in that situation with like Hulk, you'd be sitting there like, fuck, he's already gonna resolve. I don't get to negate him before he resolves, and then I'm not really doing much. So there's like weird timing issues with effects like these, the ones that like summon themselves as the first response and then it starts in a new chain. You're going to miss certain cards that trigger on summon. You're not going to be able to hit them and negate them like you might wish. But still, I think it's a respectable card. This could legitimately be a hand trap going forward. Unless the meta is like super like, yeah, this card kind of plays right into that. It kind of works pretty well against all the meta decks. Because, listen, the TCG loves to play combo decks, which could always like add value to this card. But I'm not sure I see it in the main super early, but it is one of those cards. Can't be negated, so it is really safe as long as they're playing a deck that will try and combo through a big extra deck monster at some point. Even if this card is just essentially to you, drop this guy on the field and negate a boss monster. Doesn't this, because it only negates like the big monsters, well actually only drops on the field when there's a big monster. It can negate technically anything from the extra deck. They may be getting already pretty far through their combos, but you can't be negated, so you drop on the field and you neutralize one of their disruptions, and then from there you can go in. Like against like Dragon Link, Heavenly Spheres is one of their most powerful cards. But while this guy is on the field, Spheres cannot trigger at all. Even though it triggers tributes for cost, this card just says straight out that the effect cannot be activated, which means it can't even attempt to tribute itself to activate its effect while this is face up. So it does make that a little awkward. It takes away an extender and a disruption at the same time. I think it's a pretty good card. It is a little bit specific, but I understand why they do this, and I'm glad they're doing this. If this card was just like super generic, if its first effect was all one effect, just like literally was like impermanence, and maybe it didn't even take like a 2,000 or more attack extra deck monster, it was just anything, this would be like one of the best Hulk like responses in the game, right? So yeah, I think you got to put respect on this card. We'll see how it goes. Like I'm still curious to see like exactly a lot of interactions with this card, whether this card is good enough to like actually be worth with those interactions versus like a lot of cards that'll be played in the meta. But I think it's a pretty damn good card. I really think we got to respect this card, and I'm totally expecting this to be a secret rare. One, because it's pretty good, and two, because we haven't seen like a ton of amazing cards so far for Blazing Vortex, so this definitely seems like one of the more standout cards. So definitely would expect this to end up in the secret rare slot for show. And yeah, all right, that's where we're gonna leave off. Sorry I was a little bit rambly on this one, guys. I just woke up, if you couldn't tell. That's why I'm wearing the hat, cover things up. But let me know your thoughts down below on this card. Do you think this hand trap does have legitimate potential in the metagame? We have a lot of hand traps. We just kind of keep varying them, but I like that they're kind of getting a little bit more specific. They're not as just like generic like Ash, but Ash is getting a little bit weaker, so we need a little bit stronger ones, but some of them are a little bit more, they work better versus this deck, but not this deck. And so it becomes a lot more strategical and more of a mind game as far as what hand traps to play, what ratios, which ones are the best ones for that time and that place, and what's worth maining and what's siding. So I kind of like that attempt at it. That way at least everybody's not playing the same hand trap lineup, you know, all the way through. So yeah. Like I said, leave your comments down below on this card. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's cheeks? What do you think? I think it has a lot of potential. Definitely. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you there. Subscribe if you haven't, I guess. That's the last thing. In peace.